Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Papagaio, my Junglecore Island. Today we are going to be doing a very exciting kind of a challenge for me. So I have several areas of my island that are not built out, like this market area. There's a lot of areas that are blank and I want to give myself a time and just go nuts on my island and see how much I can accomplish within 3 hours. That is the goal. Whatever I have in my storage, I'm just going to try to use. I'm not going to stress out if I don't have every single item the way that I want it. The goal is just to complete as much of my island in 3 hours as possible. I'm so close to finishing Papagaio. I am so happy with how the map came out for Papagaio so far. It's like all the beautiful luscious water terraforming that I wanted. All of the little dots of pathing for all of the palm trees really make it look a lot more detailed than it actually is. But I am just going to go off camera. 3 hours starting right now. All right, let's do it. So I should have started the timer when I actually had my storage locker thing in my pocket and I was actually over at the area because we wasted about a minute just going to the other side of my island, collecting my little locker from the front beach here, getting my pockets full of things, and we went over to the market area, which is where I wanted to start off first. I started by putting down some pathing and some custom designs down. I wanted to just create like a few different areas. It's a pretty small area for a market, but I always knew that I wanted a market in this little spot. I thought originally that I would have like each one of my villagers have a job and that each one of them would have like a corresponding stall in this market. But I gave them little jobs and they're not necessarily represented in this general market area because they have their little shops near their houses. So what I did was I created one that was a flower shop, which is the one that I laid out there. This one over here is a little pottery area, and then I created a small fish stand down in the front. The storefront, I would really like to know how to use it better, but it just doesn't like vibe with it feels too deserty to really work in the jungle. We created this little stand and I thought that this counter would work in front of the stand to hold some of the pottery on it, but it was just too tall. So I end up removing that front counter and putting in just a log bench, which worked out really good. And I put some newspaper down. I always love when I have like a little fish market area to put down some newspaper because I really associate that for some reason with a fish, like wrapping fish in newspaper. I don't think I've ever seen fish wrapped in newspaper, but it just feels like something that would be appropriate to me. So originally I thought I wanted this to be like a little food stand, so I put the Moki pestle there, but it didn't really work in the end, and I had a lot more flower items in my storage. So this market might change over time, but I like the idea of there being 3 little stands, and I can change them out if I need to. Trying out a different arrangement of pots on the little pottery stand and realizing that it's way too tall and the front pots will cover up the ones in the back. So using a little log bench, like I said before, and this is something that happened by accident. I ended up offsetting the bench from the actual stall, but I really liked the way that that worked because I was able to put some tall vases on the ground beside it. So I ended up offsetting it in the other direction and it just makes it look a little bit more interesting somehow. And I think the bathtub with yuzu might be like the marketplace essential. And it's like yuzu is like a Japanese kind of citrus fruit that is really delicious. I think I had it like one time and it was very, very good. But they have them in that little steamy bath over there, and it's just perfect for a market area, especially since citrus can grow probably on this island, I would imagine. And I just like this area overall because it has a mix of just things that I had in my storage. So there's 2.0 items. There's items that I've had from the very beginning that I really wanted to use on this island, like the anthurium plant and all of the different kinds of pottery. Now that we have even more kinds of pottery, it's just been super fun to play around with. As you can see, I put my little storage unit over on the side, so it'd be very easy throughout all these builds to just grab things and bring them into the build very quickly. So we're just finishing up this little flower stand, and I'm basically done with this market area. Let's fast forward to it being finished and go on to the next area. The next area that we're working on my island is Rio's coffee shop, and it's kind of a farm to table situation. I gave her a little sugarcane plantation up on the level above her house, and then I put a lot of cacao and coffee trees on the side. So she's growing the coffee, she's maybe growing some cacao to make some chocolate, and she's also got the sugar, so it's like everything that you would want at the cafe, she has got you covered. Also, that was the very first gold nugget that I've ever found on Papagaio, and on Alexandria I've already found like so many gold nuggets. So what the heck is going on? Do you guys find golden nuggets like very easily on your island or not at all? Because I feel like on my first island I found them all the time, and then on Papagaio I didn't find them at all. On Okanda I didn't find them at all, and now Alexandria is like a gold mine. I don't know what's happening there, but I've gotten like 4 different gold nuggets. Maybe I just break more rocks on that island. I don't even know. Anyways, I thought that I wanted to use this counter here. It ended up that we had to go to the alpaca, to Cyrus, to get it customized, which took a good chunk of time, but I think it was worth it because this counter is much more appropriate for a cafe with this dark brown, and it kind of matches the stall a little bit better. So I put some cream and sugar, a little coffee out there, and I had a heck of a time putting some items back here, so we will skip forward to just them being done in the back here, spaced out properly. I got these stacked bags, and I had this really cute little coffee design. So I just ended up centering those behind the stall and putting a coffee plant in front to add a little bit of layering there. And I ended up using the coffee bean item. It is so perfect. But then when I realized when I was trying to order another one from Nook Shopping, that's actually the decaf coffee variation. So I'll have to get a couple more coffees so we don't just have decaf in this coffee shop. But it was super cute, and that's just what I had available. So like I said at the beginning, I don't want to use Treasure Islands for this series of builds. I wanted to just use anything that I had in my storage already so that it would be super fast for me to do this build. I didn't have to do any setup. I think the problem can be when you're getting tired of an island theme. Not to say that I'm really getting tired of Papagaio, but I'm definitely ready for a fresh start. After starting my newest medieval island, Alexandria, I am like hyped, and I'm all about that new island flavor. So I am ready to go on another island. Believe it or not, I am like super stoked about it. But I thought that I was almost ready to like pull the plug on Papagaio, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself 3 hours, complete as much of the island as possible, and see if I don't get back into Junglecore. And believe it or not, actually, I'm sure you will believe it, 3 hours later, I am so pumped about Papagaio again. It cleared out a lot of items that I had like on my to-do list roughly for this island, areas that maybe wouldn't have made like full video speed builds, and I was just able to knock them out in one video for you guys, give maybe a lot more jungle inspiration, bang for your buck in one video, and actually re-inspire myself on this island. So it's a win-win-win for literally everybody, and I hope that you enjoy. Have you ever done this? Have you ever just been like, whatever I have in my storage, I'm giving myself this amount of time and we're just going to plow through it and see what we can get done? Because that's what I used to do all the time on my other islands, and I haven't done it in a really long time because they don't really make excellent speed builds, these tiny little areas. I tend to include these more on my to-do list style videos, but just being able to sit down and plow through the areas without more of a structured let's play in place was really freeing. And let me know what you guys think. I might do more of this in the future because it does provide a lot of different variety in the video, lots of different areas to pull inspiration from, and I think it was really fun for me to do. This build is a prime example of when you have little areas to just fill them up with nature, especially along these little cliff edges, which I can always find like so difficult when you've put the third level of cliff like right against the second one and you just have that narrow little strip. I normally do like a combination of like item, flower, weed, and now glowing moss, bush, fencing, just single spaced items that kind of make it look a little bit more, give it a little bit more depth, but don't take up a lot of room, and you can just squeeze along the side there. Anyways, we went up to the level above Rio's house, and I wanted to give her a little sugar cane area. This turned out so lush and beautiful. I could not believe it when we went forward and it was looking so nice. I planted some sugarcane and then I watered about 4 of the sugarcane plants because I wanted them to have different levels of growth. So I actually went to the next day and watered a tiny portion of them again. So I have a couple of sugar canes that are 2 tall and a couple that are 3 tall. I wanted there to be a couple that were only 1 tall, but that means that I shouldn't have watered them at all. And I think that they all got watered at least once before they went to the next day. So still it looks super lush and full. I ended up doing 3 rows of the sugar canes and just a little bit of fencing around. Just honestly, if you have a tiny little area, just pick a crop that mildly suits in with your theme. Like if you're doing like cottagecore, maybe it's wheat or potatoes. Maybe if you're doing something more kidcore, maybe you could do like a mix of pumpkins and carrots and tomatoes or something like that. Just a little tiny farm area to fill in those awkward little spaces. It even works on a Junglecore island, so take it from me.
The next day.
I ordered some things from Nook Shopping, so the coffee cup, and I ordered a couple more of the coffee plants to go back into this little corner area beside Rio's house. I wanted this to be like her little storage room, or like where she's growing some coffee plants, she's growing some cacao, and then she has like boxes with like products ready to go. She is a small business owner, but she's a farmer at heart, really. That's her calling, is she wants to be like making the best coffee, trendiest location. That's why Shari decided to put her treehouse right up from this little coffee shop, because she actually loves it here. And stay tuned till the end for some shots of Shari sniffing a table / trying to sniff the coffee, but she's too short to get her head over the counter and she just ends up sniffing a table. It's really funny. But we just put in some more little touches to make it look like a bit of a storage room, and filled in the little dining area with some more plants. And I end up putting rugs underneath both this front counter area and the tables. I'll skip through some of the table stuff because honestly, putting items next to those 2 chairs in the front with the table was like almost impossible. So I moved them out of the way. I put the blanket down underneath it, the little rug area, and had quite a time trying to figure out whether they should be centered or they should be like right up against the water's edge. I put them right against the water and had to take some shots. Had to waste some time taking some cute shots of my little build. But it's actually good to take those sideways shots because those are the spots that you can't really see when you're building. So I was able to kind of troubleshoot that little side area, put some pathing underneath it, put the box back kind of on an angle just to make it feel a little bit more filled out, and it definitely helped. So we ended up moving on to the top portion, just throwing down some pathing to connect the incline with Shari's treehouse. I find if I'm really thinking about a large area too much, just putting down some custom pathing or some in-game pathing already gets my mind working towards what else could fill the area. Then putting down some shrubs and some flowers, some trees also really helps me, because it's just when you're looking at blank grass, it's so hard to think about what you're going to actually put into that blank grass. But once you put down some pathing, you get a sense for what areas you're going to be running through all the time. Like, I wanted to keep this area pretty clean so that I could run up to Shari's house. Shari's house is actually one of the most out of the way houses on my island, and Alfonso's house, that I don't end up visiting a whole lot because they are out of the way. But now that I have these super cute areas to run through, I think I'm more likely to go and visit them more often. Because I did actually update Shari's interior because I finished HHP. Well, I say finished, but I got to the point in HHP where I can start to decorate the interiors and exteriors of my villagers' houses. Stay tuned, because we do end up updating Phil's house, which is the next portion that we're going to after I can get this Rio's area sorted out a little bit more. I was having so much fun working on Rio's little area. When I set up the terraforming for this area originally, Bam was living here, and I was like so excited to build something because it just seemed like such an interesting little nook to have a villager house with this little bridge and a little incline right there. I finished off the little seating area by moving the coffee bags and the sugar down to the front, putting a barrel in there, and then I went up to this level to make one of my favorite little collections of items. I put some sugarcane on top of a wooden box, I put a bag of coffee on top of the barrel, and then I put a little wooden bucket down in front. And it is like, honestly, for some reason, when you're climbing up that little incline to go up to Shari's house, seeing this little collection of 3 items really makes it feel a lot more finished and just really cute when you're coming up the incline. So we put down some planks underneath it. Always love a good plank under everything. Kind of ties it in with Shari's treehouse bridge, land bridge over there, wooden bucket, and it's done. Put in some weeds, put in some glowing moss, which honestly is like one of my favorite jungle items. The glowing moss, I did not utilize enough vines throughout this. I am just realizing that now. I'm probably gonna have to go in and like put some vines all over these inclines, because that is just the next level. Just makes everything look super finished and crisp. But I'm super happy with how Rio's area went, and we hustled over to get started with Phil. So I had to do a little bit of cleanup for that rock, the coconut tree, and that little glow spot, and then I went up to this little second level area beside Phil's house to complete that, which has been empty for forever. So once we completed that, we moved on to the pathing. And as you can see, we are at the 1 hour remaining mark right now. I should have gone with the light dirt path, but I was already starting to feel a touch of the time pressure because I spent so long on Rio's area. To be fair, it was one of the largest areas and also an area that I had originally planned to do an entire build for because it was so big, but I'm really happy that it is done and it's fine. Phil's little area didn't take nearly as long. This area right beside Phil's house, I tend to use as a walkthrough from the shopping district. Weirdly enough, I tend to go through this little area instead of going through the toxic jungle, because the toxic jungle has a touch of just slowness when you run through it. Not really lag, the items don't pop in, but a touch of slowness. So I do tend to run through here to get to my house, for example, or to just to get to actually Phil's house to go visit him from Amelia's house. That's kind of my little trail that I do when I'm doing the rounds on my island. So I created this little plank path a long time ago. This is a custom design that I made, and I really like using it for these tiny little pathways that you don't want to fill in because you're used to running through them, but you want it to be a little bit more interesting. So I crafted a ton of tiki torches. Thank you so much to Bells for Branches. If you didn't check that out, that was one of my favorite videos that I've done in a long time. And I got a ton of tree branches, which is very helpful for Papagaio that does not have any hardwood trees on it at all. So I never get tree branches on this island. So getting actually a ton of tree branches is super helpful. And I went and started putting in the mat. Originally, as you can see, that stone pathway does work because it adds some contrast, but you'll see I customized the outside of Phil's house and then the colors don't quite match up as well. So I would suggest that if you are going to be making an area and you plan to change the villager's house eventually, to maybe put down some items of the color pattern that you'd like, then change the villager's house to match those items, and then finish the build. Because I finished the build with Phil's house not in the final rendition of what I wanted it to be, and the colors, thank goodness, they came out perfectly, but I think I could have done an even better job of really pulling those colors out, as you'll see at the end, if I had changed his house ahead of time. Also, I got a tatami bed as I was working on this area, which I thought was absolutely hilarious because I actually thought for a second maybe I'll use the tatami bed somewhere in here because it kind of has that woven vibe, but I did not end up doing that because that was kind of weird that there would be a bed outside, so didn't go with that. Also, it started to get rainy because it is summertime on my island and it rains a whole lot. But it wasn't too much longer until we went to the next day because Phil's area was actually quite simple and straightforward to make. Phil really enjoyed the wooden stool that I made for him. Also really enjoyed this wooden low table. Thank you, Phil. And we put them in front of this little stall so that we could have more of a display. He is selling his little wares over here, and I did that offset thing again, which I really enjoy. And I went to the alpaca to get some of this rattan furniture customized. And I wasn't sure which customization I wanted for some of these items. For the rattan items that I really did want to use because they look very woven, I ended up going with the blue topped customization, which is the lighter rattan. And I did not realize ahead of time that the curtain that I chose for Phil's house is blue. So it really worked out very, very well. And as you can see, actually, I will mention down on the stone pathing, I put some bamboo pieces, like a customization of like some bamboo, some coconut fronds, coconut tree fronds, palm fronds. And I imagine that Phil kind of uses these palm fronds to weave with. So that's his material that he's gathering to use for his creations. So that's why I ended up actually putting even more of those little palm leaves down, the custom designs down on top of that stone path, and I think it turned out so cute. I also went to Leaf and bought some white lilies. I don't know why I thought that white lilies would be good for his area, but it actually really did work out. So here I am putting down a few more of those palm fronds, and then I went and crafted a few more items to go onto that low table, and also decided to switch it out for the bamboo lattice fence, which works actually much better with the colors. I'm just really into the 2.0 fences, but the good old bamboo fence is a staple on this island. And I realized for this area, actually, I used mostly DIY items, which was actually really refreshing because I tend to really lean on the furniture items, but having a lot of DIYs in your catalog or your DIY catalog area can actually really help you for these builds where you don't want to go to a treasure island. You just want to be able to fill an area with items that you've seen. And actually, the whole inspiration for Phil's area came from this Pinterest post that I found. And I just knew immediately that I wanted to have a similar area where somebody was crafting these kind of hats, because I literally wear this hat all the time on Papagaio. I think it's the perfect jungle hat. Even though I would like to wear other hats, I try them out when I get ready for each video. I'm like changing my outfit around and I always end up wearing this hat. So I think it's really cute actually that Phil is the one who's making my cute little jungle hat. And we're just doing the same old fill it up with nature tactic on this little incline above Phil's house, and we're at the 24-minute mark and we just need to go change Phil's exterior and then we're gonna skip forward to the next day. I also got the campsite. When I went to go and switch Phil's house out, I grabbed the campsite, so we're gonna set that down on the beach, but I only had like 10 minutes left by the time we actually got to that. So the campsite kind of got the rush treatment, but still I feel like it's good to use the entire 3 hours and get done as much as you can. So we put down the campsite and we used our last, well, I guess I had 20 minutes. No, we went forward a day. I had to run around and see all of the areas. I had to get a sneak preview and then I probably took a short break and we ended up with only 10 minutes left to do this entire campsite. So let's just blast through this. It was not my best work, but to be honest, I'm really glad that I have these items down now and I've gotten a start on it. I really like the beachside campsite for this jungle island, actually. It's a really good spot considering I haven't done a whole lot with the beaches on Papagaio. I do have quite a few beach builds planned for the future, but we haven't quite got to them yet. So this is kind of my first foray into beach decorating and I only had 10 minutes to do it, so it is what it is. I planted some coconuts and then with the last couple seconds that I had left, I moved a green mum over a couple spaces and the build was done. All right, everybody, the timer has gone and I have completed 4 areas on my island. It is not as much as I wanted to get done, but it is a substantial amount considering we took a couple trips over to see Cyrus and I spent a little bit longer than I wanted to on some areas. This campsite, I feel like there was a time pressure, but for the most part, I'm actually pretty happy with it. So let's go just tour around the areas that I've made. We have Rio's little cafe. Rio's cafe literally gives me life. I spent way too much time like taking pictures of this while I was building it. But I really love the combination between having this little cafe and then coming up here. This little tiny grouping of items makes me so happy. And then to just have this tiny little patch of sugarcane. Why is this patch of sugarcane like literally the most adorable thing ever? But it is, and I love it. Let's head over to Phil's area. I was already starting to feel the time pressure when I got to Phil's area. I can't believe I actually thought that I could finish my entire island in 3 hours, but I really did think I could. So this is Phil's little area. He is our resident weaver. I think I will change out this path, this stone path underneath where his work area is, to a light dirt path so it just feels even more cohesive, but I did not expect the curtains, the blue of the curtains, to match in with the blue of that rattan stool. So I might have to put in a couple more blue accents around, like maybe I'll change out this hydrangea to the blue one instead, just to make it the ultimate happy for my brain. So coming back along here, we have Amelia's house and we come down to the market. I'm very happy with this market. I had like no preconceptions of how this market would turn out, and I think that it's a really nice combination of 2.0 items and items that we had in the game beforehand. Like this whole fish area is basically a lot of 2.0 items. I forgot that I put a little stool behind here, but that's actually adorable. I love this pottery area, just a mix again of 2.0 items and regular items. I love the bathtub with yuzu over here. And I just love the cart banner as well, because I always wanted to use that on this island. It does feel very like jungly and vibrant. So let me know in the comments which area that I worked on today was your favorite. It was quite an exciting day to get a lot done on Papagaio, and I hope that we can finish off this island on stream together on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. If you want to come hang out, we're going to be working on Papagaio, trying to see how much we can get done, and hopefully we can finish it so that we can restart, which I would really like your guys' input on what we're gonna do next for the channel. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everybody!